is Tom Doody, middle-aged American living in New Jersey near the Lincoln Tunnel. If you were to visit my website, you would type Howdy Doody into Google. You'll find the correct spelling of the famous puppet. You then combine Tom Doody in a Google search for my site. From the New York Times, Rubin Hurricane Carter, boxer whose murder convictions were overturned, dies at 76. By Selwyn, Raab. Part 4. Burglars testify. At their trial in 1967, 3 alibi witnesses placed them elsewhere at the time of the killings. They were nonetheless convicted, primarily on the evidence of Alfredo P. Bello and Arthur D. Bradley, 2 white prosecution witnesses with long criminal records. Mr. Bello testified that he saw both defendants leave the tavern with guns in their hands. Mr. Bradley testified only Mr. Carter. Both witnesses admitted that they were in the vicinity of the Lafayette Grill at the time of the murders because they were trying to burglarize a factory nearby. The prosecution offered no motive for the slayings. Facing possible death sentences, Mr. Carter received 30 years to life, Mr. Artis 15 years to life. Their appeals were denied unanimously by the New Jersey Supreme Court. Back in prison, a defiant Mr. Carter refused to wear a uniform or work in industrial jobs. He ate in his cell, sustained by canned food and a soup that he heated on an electric coil. He scoured trial records and law books and typed out unsuccessful briefs for a new trial. Mr. Carter also lost his vision in his right eye after an operation on a detached retina, a condition he attributed to inadequate treatment in prison hospital. His celebrity boxing background and his outspoken contempt for prison rules made him a hero to many inmates. His prison authorities credited him with trying to calm down rioters at a Rahway state prison in 1971, and one prison guard reportedly said Mr. Carter had saved his life. Witnesses recant. By 1974, Mr. Carter's prosecution for a new trial seemed hopeless. But that summer, New Jersey Public Defender's Office in the New York Times independently obtained recantations from Mr. Bello and Mr. Bradley. Both men asserted that detectives had pressured them into falsely identifying Mr. Carter and Mr. Artis. Moreover, it was revealed that the prosecution had secretly promised leniency to the 2 witnesses regarding their own crimes in exchange for the cooperation in the Carter case. Based on the recantations, new information, the New Jersey Supreme Court overturned the guilty verdicts in 1976. Overnight, Mr. Carter was hailed as a civil rights champion, with a National Defense Committee working on his behalf and fundraising concerts headlined by Mr. Dillon at Madison Square Garden and at Houston Astrodome. The Garden concert also included Joni Mitchell, Joan Baez, Roberta Flack. Muhammad Ali attended a pre-trial hearing in Patterson in 1976 to show support for Mr. Carter. As a second trial in December 1976, a new team of Passaic County prosecutors resuscitated an old theory, charging that the defendants had committed the Lafayette Grill murders to extract revenge for the earlier killings of a black tavern owner. Mr. Bello resurfaced as prosecution witness and recanted his recantation. He was the only witness who placed Mr. Carter and Mr. Artis at the murder scene. After being freed for 9 months on bail, Mr. Carter and Mr. Artis were sent back to prison and deserted by most of the show business and civil rights figures who flocked to their cause. Mr. Carter's second child, a son, Raheem Rubin, was born 6 days after the 2 men were found guilty. This is the end of Part 4. New York Times, Rubin Hurricane Carter. It's been Tom Doody, middle-aged American living in New Jersey near the Lincoln Tunnel. If you were to visit my website, you would type Howdy Doody into Google. You'll find the correct spelling of the famous puppet. You then combine Tom Doody in a Google search for my site. Thank you for listening. Have a good day, good evening, or restful night's sleep. Ciao.